that all these old, smaller systems, now that all these customers are coming out of that 44 cents a kilowatt stage, they're getting huge bills again, basically because their systems, they're rendered useless, basically, because they're so small, they're so old, they're not producing anything. They might be producing 1 to 6 kilowatts per day, which is nothing, and it gets gobbled up by the home use as opposed to being exported back to the grid. The energy demand 10, 15 years ago wasn't there. As we move forwards, we've got things like a lot more lighting through the house. We've got energy cooling and heating through the house, whether that be a ducted system or split systems. We've got pool pumps, electric hot waters. People want more things in their house. There's a lot more electrical appliances in people's houses as opposed to 20 years ago. I guess if you went into your grandparents' house, you'll see one fluoro in the kitchen and you'll see 7 power points through the whole house and stuff like that. Whereas now a house is 30, 40, 50 power points, 40, 50 light fixtures, pool pumps, pools, ducted air conditioning, electric hot waters, induction cooktops, toasters, stoves, all these luxuries that we've got now, and our demand for electricity has just really increased. So that's where all the old solar systems on people's roofs, that's why they're not performing well, because they weren't designed for the current, I guess, load that we're all consuming now. What it means to be local is that I know, and I have to show my face every single day in this town, so that makes me very motivated that everything I do is by the book. And if I wouldn't do it to my own house, why would I do it to your house? So if I wouldn't put a cheap solar system on my own house, why would I put a cheap solar system on your house? Or if I would put a cheap part in my switchboard or a cheap power point in my own home, why would I put one in your house? I think being local and having a face that you've got to show every day, as opposed to buying a cheap solar system off the internet or something like that, really sets the locals apart. We have some really great installers in Bundaberg, not just me. And if I'm putting a solar system on someone's house, it's to last the lifetime, if not more, of what that is warranted for. So a solar inverter is the minimum warranty that I'll put on it of 10 years. And the minimum solar panel warranty is 30-year performance warranty of the panels. I guess some of my customers' pain points that they think that solar is really expensive. And at the end of the day, they are right. Like a good system is a high outlay. But what they also don't see is that it's actually cheaper to have a solar system through finance companies that I have access to. I get this all the time. I would say 90% plus of my customers or potential customers don't realize that it's actually cheaper to have solar than it's not to have solar. If you look back through the history of weather, I would say that in Queensland, and especially Bundaberg, 70% of our days are sunny. But what people also don't realize is that just because it's cloudy doesn't mean your solar system doesn't work. It certainly doesn't work to its full capacity, 100%. But that's the way when we design a solar system, we oversize it to allow for these overcast days. We oversize it to allow, we don't design a system for perfect conditions because we don't get perfect conditions every day. We design it for an average throughout the whole year. So say you only need an 8 kilowatt system to negate your power bills. What we'll do is we'll be putting a 13 kilowatt or something like that on your home to negate those power bills. So one of my main goals in every solar system that I design and give advice to customers for is to negate their power bills and show customers that you don't need to pay power. There is so many ways with all technology now that it's quite silly to actually be paying power. But I guess it's not silly. It's just not educated, and the customer just doesn't know. All it takes is a 10-minute phone call with me. All my customers, any new customers, can call me anytime for free, obviously, and I'm more than happy to sit on the phone for half an hour and explain all this to them, show it all to them, an on-site assessment. We can go over, have a look at your energy needs, where are your energy needs, where do you look to go in the future with your energy needs. We're going to future-proof your whole system so you pay for it once. You can literally power your home almost indefinitely if you have a tiny bit of sun through battery storage. So another thing that people don't realize, or some people don't realize, is that if you've got a battery, what that does is it acts as a backup. So if you lose grid supply, so whether that's to an emergency or the energy provider is doing work on the lines, or there's just an interruption somewhere, whether that be a half an hour interruption or a days or even longer in a cyclo, whether it's weeks. If there's an interruption, your battery will take over, and it takes over in under 10 milliseconds. It is that quick. You won't ever see your lights flicker. You won't lose your air conditioner. You won't lose all your stored stuff on your computer. The backup is literally that fast. And with the technology today, you can literally run your home with no grid supply for days on end, just running off your battery. If it's the middle of summer, the beauty about batteries these days is it's a full home backup. It's not just a power point. It's not just a light. It's your air conditioner. You can run your stove. You can run your pool pump. You can run your spa. If your system is designed correctly, it's a full home backup. You won't even know that you've lost power. What you'll probably find is that your neighbours will ring you and say, hey, have you got power? And you'll go, we've got power. And they'll go, oh, that's funny, we don't. But because you've got a battery, the whole system, the battery takes over, and it's called a whole home backup. And the old school way, I guess, of having a home backup was go out to the shed, grab the generator out of the shed, grab the extension lead. If you've got a changeover switch, and if an electrician has wired one in, that you would have to go out, do all this, and it's usually in pissing down rain, but it's through a storm. You realise you've got no fuel. You're trying to start your generator. You're trying to flick out of the changeover switch. But I've had it before where your partner's ringing you and you're like, how do I do this? How do I flick the changeover switch down? And it's a big panic, and you're trying to talk through it on the phone on how to do it. This is the beauty about a hybrid system and having a battery, that this kicks in automatically and backs your whole home up, and you don't even know you've lost power. It is that quick.
How will a customer know what system to choose?
It comes through advice from your solar installer. So everything that I will advise on is exactly what I would do if your house was my house. So that's the way I would design it, and I always give that advice. But at the end of the day, it's obviously what I advise isn't set in stone. You know what I mean? If it's out of your budget or whatever, at the end of the day, it's always the customer's choice. It's never my choice. I'll always advise what I think and what I would do if your home was my own home. We have a deep dive into your electricity use, your electricity usage over the last 12 months, 18 months. We can see exactly what it will be. We can see a graph to see what it has been. Is it rising? Are you using more and more and more? We will then future-proof into the design of your system. I guess the solar industry is changing, and it's changing very fast, especially with the adaptation of electric cars. What we now have is the capacity to, we have electric cars which have a huge amount of battery storage in those cars. So what we actually have is the provisions for a VPP, which is a virtual power plant. So when we design and we install all these new systems, they are with the capability, one, that battery can feed back to the grid if you want to. It's not a necessity. You don't have to do this. But say you wanted to feed back to the grid and sell your battery storage at a huge rate, a very high rate, you are capable of doing that. Or we can set it up where we don't do that, and the energy provider has no access to your battery. But it is ready for a virtual power plant. What we also have is innovations in electric cars coming in with got huge batteries in themselves. So you will need to charge those cars, or you can take charge from your car into your home and vice versa. So you've got battery storage, you've got car storage. And if that's something that you wanted to do in the future, then we will design your system around you having an electric car. The systems that are designed to be future-proof. I don't want to design a system that they then turn around and say, hey, Dave, we're getting a power bill again. But this system is designed for life. We do it properly. We do it once, and we do it well the first time. What I recommend for all my customers, I'll show you what's on my house. And the reason I use it is because I know it works. I know it's reliable. I know it's been reliable for the last 10, 15 years. I know that if there was a warranty, I know that they are very good with their warranty and their backup. And saying that, I've only ever replaced one. So out of the lot of inverters that I've installed, I've only ever replaced one. But Brad, so you just need to rest assured that if something was to fail, then the manufacturer has your back, and you don't pay me to come back and fix that if it was to happen. The regulations change all the time. There's always new legislation that we need to come on top of, especially in the solar industry. The solar industry and the battery industry is probably the most heavily regulated industry to be in. So you really need to be on top of the new regulations Otherwise, as I said, you will fall behind and you will find yourself in trouble.